Hello again, this is Drew Arrett, and I'm going to do a quick tutorial video here on what Google Classroom is and why you might want to use it. So the first thing you might want to know is, how do you get to Google Classroom? And you simply go to classroom.google.com, and then that will bring you to your kind of classroom homepage. And you can see on your classroom homepage there are several things. The first thing you probably notice are any classes that I am the teacher of or a student in appear right here. And then up here I've got my little hot dog menu where I have all my settings, and I can also access my classes from there. I've got, from teaching, I've got a couple, like a special work tab, archive classes, settings, calendar, and we'll get into all that stuff here in just a second. Over here you can see I've got my name, and it's got my school address up there right now, and you will probably want to sign in with your school address when you begin using Google Classroom. That'll make it easier for managing files and things later. And then you'll see this little plus up here, which if I click gives me the option to either join a class or create a class. So before we get into really how to use Google Classroom, I just want to show you, talk a little bit about what it does and why you'd want to use it. It is Google's classroom management system, and if your school uses Google Apps for Education like my school does, it makes organizing your classes and turning in student assignments very, very, very easy, which is why I would recommend it, and I'll show you why. So you'll notice each of these classes, they have a little folder down in the corner, and if I hover over that, it will say Open Folder for Earth Science in Google Drive. So Google Classroom is very, very closely tied to Google Drive, and basically any files or any assignments or anything like that that you create in Google Classroom, it lives in your Google Drive. So if I click this little folder button, it will take me to my Earth Science Google Drive folder, and then you can see every assignment that I've made is in here. And if you look at one of these assignments, so here's a vocab quiz in here. Oh, it must not have been one that I did. Let's go to one. Okay, World Carbon Savings. This was an assignment we did at the end of the year last year. You can see I've got all my students' assignments in here, and look, it's something, this is amazing for any teachers that have tried to do something with Google Drive without this. They are all titled the exact same thing, and they all have the student's first and last name tied to it. Amazing. Okay, this makes managing your classroom files and assignments so much easier than trying to have students name all that stuff, because they forget to name it, or they name it something wrong, or they don't put their name on it, or any of those things can happen. But with Google Classroom they can't, so that's awesome. So let's go ahead and let's get into a class. Well, let me show you the calendar first, and then we'll get into an actual class. So the nice thing about Google Classroom is it's got a built-in calendar. It's like its own built-in Google Calendar. Now, there's not going to be anything on mine because school hasn't started yet. But if we went back to the end of last year, you would see all my assignments and things would be listed on here. Assignments, quizzes, all that stuff would be listed and populated in the calendar, which is super handy for me and for students, especially if if all the teachers are using this, then essentially the students have a built-in planner inside of Google Classroom where they can make sure when they've got quizzes coming up, when assignments are due, etc., etc. I'm going to go back to the home page by clicking, if you didn't catch that, I just click the hot dogs, and then I click the little home button up here that says classes, and that brings me back to this. So let's go ahead and get into one of these classes, and let's just look at what it looks like, and I'll kind of just take you on a little tour here. So when you first open up a class, the main thing you're going to see is the stream. And if you think of your Facebook page or your Twitter feed, this is essentially just the same thing. You've got newer posts up at the top, and then as you scroll down, posts get older and older and older and older. Google Classroom has several different types of posts that you can do. Like you can see this one was just a quick message that I put up, welcome back to school. School hasn't started yet, but I just put it up there as an example. You can see this one right here. It's got a little like clipboard next to it. That means it's an assignment. And then over here, it tells you, so you got a few things going on here. You've got number one, the title of the assignment. You can click on that to get in just this assignment. You've got over here how many are done and how many are not done, total for your students. You've got, anything I want to write about the assignment. So I usually do, like my assignment instructions or descriptions goes in there. And then down here is neat where you can attach any Google Docs or anything from your drive that you want to attach. You can attach images, you can attach links to outside web sources and YouTube videos and anything you want. So like if we look down here, you can see on this one, I've got a Google Doc attached and I've got a YouTube video attached. And then if you go down to this one, I've got just 2 pictures attached. So you've got some options here. How you make a new post is down here. And you can see you've got some different types of posts. You can create a question, which is like a quick class survey, an assignment, or an announcement is just your general, just your general kind of what's going on post or what's up post like this one up here. And we'll get into all those other things later, but right now I'm just working on giving you an overview. If we go to the students page, then I get a list of all of my students that are in the class. And I get my class code. So when students join a class, they can use that class code. I can invite new students to my class if I know their emails. And so like, let's say I want to email the whole class. This is where this class list comes in because I can select all students and I can go to actions and I can go to boom, email. Okay. Let's say one student in particular is giving me issues posting inappropriate things. I can click on that student, pick on Drew here, and I can go to actions, mute that student, and then they can no longer post on the classroom board. And then if a student moves out or in or whatever, you can remove students as well. So this is where you control what students can do. And over here, students can post and comment, or students can only comment, only teacher can post or comment. So you can kind of control what happens on your feed. Moving along to the About tab. This just has like general info for your class. It's got links to your calendars and things. To be perfectly honest, you can add materials and stuff like that. I have rarely ever used this because you can get to all this stuff from other places. But one thing that I would note is you can invite a second teacher or a third teacher or a fourth teacher. So if you want to have co-teachers, you can do that in Google Classroom as well. So again, it's a classroom management system. You can communicate with your students very easily through this. It organizes all of your assignment files for you. And it's just a great way to keep your class organized and get everybody what they need. And I like it because as long as I'm keeping this up to date, then all of my students have all of the content for my course because I basically only use digital resources. So if they're homesick or whatever, they can have access. They can watch the videos we're watching. They can even do the assignments if they want to do the assignments. Now, one other thing I want to go back to is a big new feature for this year that I haven't used yet because school hasn't started, but I'm very excited for it, is Guardian email summaries. So basically, a new feature of Google Classroom is that it will generate weekly or monthly, or I'm not sure what all options you have for the date or how often it occurs, but it will create kind of newsletters for your classroom that will send parents. And this will keep your parents up to date on what's going on in your classroom. And I believe it even includes things like if their student has a missing assignment or something like that. So that's the big feature that I thought that Google Classroom has been missing in the past. And now that they have it, that ought to make things just great for communicating with parents. So that's a quick overview of just kind of what Google Classroom is and why you might want to use it. I will be making more videos in the future that are shorter, that are more concise about how to do specific things on Google Classroom. So any questions, comments, need help with anything, of course, get in touch with me. Thanks.